tonight's Town Board meeting, October 8th, 2014. It's great to have so many people here in the audience, and I know some of you are at home watching either on your TV set or streaming live on the internet. We appreciate having you. We appreciate giving you the opportunity to participate in town government. I would note that our agenda for tonight's meeting, as well as a copy of all supporting materials that go with it, are on the table in the rear of this room. And if you are watching at home or somewhere else on your computer, you can access all of those documents at the town's website at townofbrighton.org. We want everybody to have access to the same materials that we're working on up here tonight. Now, in a minute, we're going to be going into our town open forum, but we have some presentations tonight first and a few other housekeeping details. In particular, I want to remind everybody that if you hear the town's emergency alarm system, please exit the auditorium, either through the door to my right. If you go out that door, turn right, down the stairs, and out the back door of Town Hall away from the building. Or you can leave through either one of the double doors in the rear of this building, go straight through the lobby, out the front doors of Town Hall, down the steps, and again, away from the building. We do occasionally experience technical difficulties during the live broadcast. If you're watching at home and you have some kind of technical difficulties with the sound or the video, please call Time Warner Cable. Their number is 756-5000. Again, that's 756-5000 for any technical problems with the live video broadcast of this meeting. We're going to start with a pledge to the flag, and I would like to ask Town Board Member Jason DePonzio to lead us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jason. As I mentioned a moment ago, before we get started with our open forum, we do have some presentations tonight. The week of October 5th through October 11th is National Fire Prevention Week. I had the great pleasure this past Sunday of attending the Brighton Fire Department's open house at station number 1. As always, it was a wonderful opportunity for families and kids to learn about fire prevention, watch some firefighters in action. And in my case, I had the great pleasure of bringing my own grandchildren for the first time. So it was a wonderful experience, and thanks to our men and women in the fire service in Brighton. I would like to call up, we have several individuals with our fire service. Come on up tonight if you would, please. And I'll be introducing these gentlemen in just a moment, but first I'd like to read a proclamation of the town board that we have all signed this evening in honor of Fire Prevention Week. Whereas the town of Brighton is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our community. Whereas fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are the location where people are at greatest risk from fire. Whereas home fires killed more than 2,300 people in the United States in 2012. And according to the National Fire Protection Association, fire departments across the United States responded to 365,000 fires that occurred in the home that year. Whereas 3 out of every 5 home fire deaths result from fires in properties without working smoke alarms. Whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of death in reported house fires in half. And residents who have installed smoke alarms on every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, and on every level of the home are much more likely to survive a fire. And whereas installing smoke alarms and alert devices that meet the needs of people who are deaf, or suffering from hearing loss is vital to those individuals in order to lessen their risk of death or injury due to fire. And whereas Brighton's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas the 2014 fire prevention theme, Working Smoke Alarms Save Lives, effectively serves to remind us that a working smoke alarm continuously scans the air for smoke 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and assists individuals and families in escaping a deadly home fire and decreases the chances of firefighters losing their lives by searching a burning home for residents. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Brighton Town Council does hereby recognize October 5 through October 11, 2014 as Fire Prevention Week in the town of Brighton. And we support the many public safety activities and efforts of Brighton's fire and emergency service providers. And we urge our residents to check their smoke alarms monthly, and your smoke detectors, of course, and inspect their homes for any and all fire hazards on a regular basis. It's signed this 8th day of October 2014 by myself and by all of the members of the Brighton Town Board. I've only got one of these proclamations, but I think we will post it here in Town Hall as a reminder to everyone, and I'll start with you, Chief Stephen McAdam, if you'd like to say a few words. Chief of the Brighton Fire Department.
Evening, like the supervisors said, we had a great turnout on Sunday. We want to thank all of the community members who showed up to come to open house. Said this is the week we highlight fire prevention, but fire prevention never takes vacation. It's year-round. We encourage people who hadn't had a chance to come to open house to stop by any station here, and sure the chief can attest in West Brighton. If you have any questions, if you want to visit with firefighters, see the truck, encourage people to test your smoke detector monthly. Coming up on the 1st of November, we do change your clock, change your batteries. A good reminder that at least once a year, change the batteries in your smoke detector. You may see some of us from Brighton out delivering some pizza in a fire truck, checking some smoke detectors along the way. And again, this is tell the public that are watching, when you do call 911, and Chief Henderson can attest that you get a team of people, and we train and work together, and we're very fortunate here in Brighton to have fire, police, and ambulance service that we have here in Brighton and West Brighton.
Thank you, Chief. In West Brighton, fire service and emergency medical services provided 24 hours a day by the men and women of the City of Rochester Fire Department. And here on their behalf is Engine Deputy Chief Dennis Prevost. Dennis? Thank you.
I'd like to first of all thank you all for inviting us here. The City of Rochester is proud to be serving West Brighton. We take those services very seriously, and we're committed to give them the best service possible. Now that you invite us here, we feel like we're part of the community, and I just want to thank you.
And finally, on a day-to-day basis, I have the privilege of working very closely with our Fire Marshal, Chris Roth. Chris?
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the job of a dream of a lifetime. I have an opportunity to work with business people, family members, constituents, residents of this community, and provide the highest level of fire safety available. And I want to thank you for your support of our organization, our mission statement to make each one of you safe. And as you visit our places of assembly, our businesses and so forth, you can shop with pride, knowing that we provide the oversight to make sure that all those buildings are safe for you to visit, purchase products, and be part of the great town of Brighton. Thank you.
Great. Again, I want to thank each of the three of these gentlemen and the services they represent. They really do work for all of us every day, and the people who are visiting Brighton, shopping in Brighton, commuting through Brighton. You help keep us safer, and we are most appreciative. Thank you very much. next proclamation is in honor of National Friends of Libraries Week, October 19th through October 25th. Now, you may recall a couple of years ago, we were here honoring the Brighton Memorial Library as Monroe County's best library. I think they retired their uniform number. It was such an overwhelming outpouring of support for the Brighton Memorial Library as the best library in Monroe County that they won't let you win it anymore. But we all know that year in and year out, our Brighton Memorial Library is the best library in Monroe County. People come to visit us from all around. I just heard it tonight. Someone who lives outside of the town of Brighton, but was telling me how much they appreciate particularly the children's services at the Brighton Memorial Library. So in honor of Friends of Library Week, we have friends. In the truest sense of the word. We also have our executive director of the Brighton Memorial Library, Jennifer Reese-Taggart. So if you'd all like to come up, I will present this proclamation. Or however many of you from the Friends as would like to come up, we'd love to have you up here.
Wow.
Good.
Great.
What a great group. Let me read this proclamation first, and then I'll yield the microphone. Whereas the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library promote literacy, raise funds, and enhance the resources of the Brighton Memorial Library. Whereas the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries, and that the future of libraries depends on the formation of strong partnerships built among the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library, library trustees, area foundations, and members of our community. And whereas the work of the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library highlight on an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of this community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and to connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. Whereas the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials, along with expert assistance in research, reader's advisory, and children's services. And whereas the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library, with their tremendous gift of their time and commitment to the library, clearly set an example for us all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Brighton Town Council does hereby proclaim October 29 through October 25th, 2014, as Friends of the Libraries Week in the town of Brighton, and encourages everyone to join our friends of the Brighton Memorial Library Organization. And with much sincere gratitude, we thank the Friends of the Brighton Memorial Library for all they do to make our library and our community a better hometown. Signed this 8th day of October 2014 by myself and by all the members of the Brighton Town Board. And I will present this to you, Jennifer, and thank you for everything that all of the Friends did. Would you like?
Yes.
You're first to the mic.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone who supports the Friends in any way. I would like to thank Jennifer for her marvelous leadership, to the Board of Trustees of the library, and to the town for their support. And we hope you will all stop in the library very soon. Thank you.
Good. Great.
Well, here we go. Any opportunity, you guys. And to that end, I've lost my speech. One moment. Okay. Again, thank you, Bill. and Town Council for recognizing the Friends of Brighton Memorial Library with this proclamation. We all appreciate your strong support of the library now and through the many years. And I'd like to say at this point a few things about the Friends that they are too modest to mention. The Friends of BML are a very hardworking group of volunteers that stint neither their time nor money. We had 1,453 programs last year, and the Friends funded the vast majority. They're also reliable and generous major donors of our annual capital campaign. The Friends Capital Campaign donations allowed us to purchase 20 new laptops for our computer lab, a disc repair system that cleans and repairs our DVDs, computers for the Discovery Room, solar weave shades in the Children's Center and the circulation desk area, media equipment for our Learning Center, countertops for the bookshelves in the Children's Center, which expanded our display space immeasurably. Most recently, we were able to replace our 13-year-old office printer with a multi-function printer, an MFP, as they tell me, that provides print, copy, scan, email, and fax capabilities. So it's official. We are officially in the 21st century. They have also provided funding to upgrade the library's entryway. Last time that was upgraded was approximately 15 years ago. They also fund initiatives like the laptops we circulate in-house that allow us to expand the number of PCs that are available while keeping our seating flexible, as well as the purchase of e-reader devices that we are loaning for checkout to Brighton residents. As an entirely separate project, the Friends recently financed an upgrade of our Learning Center, improving the acoustics, lighting, seating, and general aesthetics of the room. All of this is financed through the annual book sales, their membership dues, and a lot of volunteer hours. And if you're not already, consider joining the Friends of BML. They're a very worthy library support organization who ultimately contribute to our highly literate community. And P.S., they also have very reasonable membership dues. Also at this time, I would like to further thank the town board for letting us use this forum to thank and acknowledge one of our long-standing and outstanding library volunteers, Jack Geyer. Jack. Jack has been a dedicated library supporter for approximately 27 years. He started as a Brighton Memorial Library, or volunteer rather, in 1987 when he moved to Brighton and decided he wanted, I have that bicentennial on my mind, and he decided he wanted to contribute to the community. His first job was helping with the book sale. He enjoyed the work so much and eventually became the chairman of that committee. His enthusiasm and affable manner encouraged other people to work with him, ultimately attracting a hardworking group of friends to work on the committee. With their help, Jack has been responsible for raising multiple thousands of dollars which benefit the library. Jack has also served 3 years as president of the Friends, from 1994 through 1996, from 1999 to 2001, and from 2005 to 2007. We won't let him get away. Besides his ongoing commitment to the book sale, Jack has also served as chairman of the Alice Wilson Literary Contest for Teens, has represented Brighton Memorial Library Friends at the Monroe County Friends Council, and has served as Friends liaison to our Board of Trustees. In 2002, Jack received the Brighton Memorial Library Trustees Award for Outstanding Volunteer Service. Those nominating him cited his support for every project the Friends sponsor, his willingness to give time and energy whenever asked, and giving of himself above and beyond what is expected. At 88 years of age, Jack continues to...
Years young.
Exactly. Vigorously continues in his role as the epitome of a devoted library volunteer. His advocacy efforts have contributed to the growth and success of the library, and on behalf of the Empire Friends and the Brighton Memorial Library, I would like to present Jack with a certificate of commendation for outstanding service to libraries. Congratulations. Okay, the microphone.
You can even, yeah.
Can I pull the microphone off?
absolutely.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah.
Here we go.
Enough.
I'll adjust. I'd like to start with the Friends President, Nancy O'Mara. Let's see. I'm trying to think of officers. Maxine Bittner, who is corresponding secretary. Okay, let's see if I have any other. Harriet Siegel, who is vice president of Friends. Cindy Stewart. Ken Harbison, who's been on Friends many, many years. How many years, seriously? 10, and now he's back on the board after a hiatus. Yeah. Let's see. Linda Rapkin, who is a friend and also the vice president of the Board of Trustees. Speaking of the Board of Trustees, the president, my board president, Kathy Miller. Nancy, who is one of our newer friends, right top. I'm sorry, Nancy. Marcia Elwich, who's been a long-standing friend. Judy Engerman, yet another. Chris Lemondola, a recent friend. And Judy Dow, also recent. But they're all hard workers, and thank you very much, because really they are, okay, I'll talk. They are very supportive of the library. Like I say, almost all our programs are funded by them, and initiatives that can't normally be absorbed in our operating budget, they generously work hard to provide those funds to us. And we couldn't do a lot of what we do without them. So I appreciate them, and I know many others do.
Great.
Thank you all for everything that you do, and
Oops, sorry.
I'll see you at the next book sale, if not sooner. Finally, October is Domestic Violence Month. Never a pleasant subject, but an important subject. This past weekend, actually, one of the signature events of the year for a local organization, Alternatives for Battered Women, Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. And Chief Mark Henderson, Chief Stephen McAdam, and I had the pleasure of donning shoes that were a little different than the shoes we usually wear. I don't need heels, but I wore them. And we walked a mile. And collectively, hundreds and hundreds of people in this community came together to raise over $40,000 for Alternatives for Battered Women. It's a wonderful start, but it is only a start, and it is a continuation of the long-standing efforts of this organization. So I'd like to invite the Executive Director of Alternatives for Battered Women, Jamie Saunders, to the podium to present to her proclamation recognizing Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas October is designated as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and at this time it is important to acknowledge that although we have made progress against domestic violence, there is much more work that remains to be done to free all individuals from having to live in fear of violence and abuse. Whereas our society needs to do more to transform the way people think about domestic abuse, to change our culture and strongly reject what is fundamentally an unacceptable crime. Whereas statistics show that today, 1 out of every 10 teenagers are physically hurt intentionally by someone they are dating. Parents, we need to teach our young people personal safety skills, and although this will not solve the social causes of domestic violence, they don't work all the time. These skills can help people of all ages avoid getting into a destructive relationship, preserve their sense of self-worth, and keep looking for ways to get help. Whereas we all need to work together towards building a future that is free of domestic violence, because that freedom is critical to our nation's success. Whereas this month we also honor the advocates and victim service providers who offer their time and support, and those who provide resources at a time in a person's life when they feel they have no alternatives, or they are too ashamed to reach out to family or friends for help. I encourage those who are currently being subjected to violence to seek assistance by calling the Alternatives for Battered Women 24-hour hotline at 585-232-7353 or visiting their website at www.abwrochester.org. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the members of the Brighton Town Council, do hereby declare October to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the town of Brighton. We thank the men and women who are providing shelter and hope to survivors of domestic violence, and we support the efforts of our local community, in order to reach a future where no man, woman, or child has to live a life in fear of this violence. Signed this 8th day of October 2014 by myself and by all of the members of the Brighton Town Board. Jamie?
This gives me enormous pride because I am actually a Brighton Barron graduate a few decades ago. And I will let you know, you are the first town to do this. So the county and the city issue proclamations each year, but this is just tremendous, let alone walking a mile in uncomfortable heels. So I'm so deeply grateful for that, and grateful to the supervisor as well as to the board and chief, and thank you so much for that support. I find it very fitting that we are being honored today both with fire safety, so safety, as well as education at the library, because this is what Domestic Violence Month is all about. It's about shining the light to raise awareness about this epidemic and this crime. We have 5,000 people calling ABW each year. That's right here in Monroe County. Half of those are from the city, and just under half are from our suburban and rural communities. So when we talk about these uncomfortable topics is when we shine the light and can make a change and make a difference. So I am deeply humbled that you are standing with us. I'm deeply humbled that you are raising awareness and that you are part of that positive change. So thank you.
Okay, did I leave? No, here it is. All right. We will now move into our open forum. During the open forum, members of the audience may address the town board about any matter, whether or not it is a matter on the agenda. Now, I would note that we do have 3 public hearings scheduled for tonight. 2 public hearings that are related to our budget, and additionally on a proposed local law entitled Fire Protection Systems Licensure. If you're here to speak to any one of those public hearings, I would encourage you to wait until the public hearing is called so you'll have the opportunity to have your comments reflected on the record of the public hearing. But if you would like to speak to the open forum, I will recognize members of the audience. When I do, please come to the podium. If you would, please state your name and address. Please direct your comments to the board and not to other members of the audience. Please be courteous and try to keep your comments as concise as possible. So with that, we'll begin the open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the board? Jim, come on up.
Good evening. I'm Jim Weller from 85 Kirk Drive from the Kirk-Astor neighborhood. I'm here tonight to talk about leaves. They have begun to fall. I noticed our Public Works Committee met earlier this week to talk about leaves and the implementation date for the town's annual beginning of the leaf pickup. I understand that a couple of dates are under consideration, the first being next Monday, October 13th, the second being Monday, October 21st, to begin the formal leaf pickup in the town. My suggestion is that you begin on the 13th. I make the suggestion because, as I understand the town policy or the town program, it is your goal to reach every street in the town at least once a week. I think that's very feasible in the normal cycle of things, However, when the leaves begin to fall and they begin to accumulate, that 1 week cycle begins to stretch itself out. We in the Kirk-Astor neighborhood are on the far east side of town. It's my understanding that the leaf cycle pickup begins on the far west side of town. So if you start on the October 13th, you will probably get to us, since there are not that many leaves down. There are some, but not a huge amount, by Thursday or Friday of that same week, the 16th or 17th. However, if you start on the 21st, I guarantee you we'll be knee-deep in most of the gutters and along the curbs of this town. And it's been my experience as a resident of some 40 years in this town that it's going to take about 2 weeks to get through that first run. Maybe a little less, but it'll be around Halloween, from October 21st to October 31st, before the first formal leaf pickup takes place in our street. I think we can tighten that up a little bit. If we start on the 13th, we'll get that initial batch of leaves out of the way, and we'll be able to tighten up a little bit in terms of the leaf pickup schedule. So from that aspect, I'm micromanaging a little bit, but I know the leaves are falling. I can hear the leaf blowers. It's the sound of fall in Brighton. It's replaced the sound of lawnmowers, so we know it's fall. I would urge you to begin on the 13th if at all possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Tim, would you like to address leaves?
Bill, I certainly would. And Jim, thanks for coming up and mentioning that tonight. And Bill, as we talked at Public Works, and I did talk to Highway and Tim Anderson, you'll be glad to know that we have actually begun this week collecting leaves, anything that's out there, and official start date is next Monday. So we will be fully geared up and mobilized to begin our leaf operations as of the 13th.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Jim, for your advocacy. I also want to note, because Jim is right, although we strive, and for most of the year in our normal lawn and garden debris cycle, we do get through the town about once every week. As leaf season picks up, the volume of leaves is so great that it is very difficult for us to do that, and we will no doubt not be able to quite make it through the town as a whole every week. A couple things we do encourage. Please, from a safety perspective and also from a stormwater perspective, we do ask that you pile your leaves not in the street, but in the front of your yard, or if you have a sidewalk, between your sidewalk and the street. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is, as I mentioned, there are safety issues. Large leaf piles in the street become obstacles that cars and bicycles have to dodge. And when people are swerving through the street, that can be a formula for accidents, whether between two vehicles or between pedestrians. When drivers are distracted looking for leaf piles, they may miss a pedestrian or a bicyclist. But it's also a stormwater issue. Those leaves, if they're in the street, as the rains come and wash them down into the drains, they can clog the drains. They can also get into the stormwater system, make the stormwater system flow less effectively. Also, when they're in the streets, this is another safety issue, and they become wet as we get these fall rains. They become very slippery, and stopping distances are worsened. So please, when you pile those leaves out, please leave them, again, on your front lawn or in the tree lawn. And thanks to Everett Garcia, one of our staff here in the town, Everett put together an enhanced mapping system that now appears on our website. So if you ever want to check when our trucks are going to be in your neighborhood, go to the town's website, look under the leaf collection tab, and you will find that map. And each day you will see on the map the neighborhood, the small area. It's not those big areas that we used to have that were frankly not as helpful as they could have been. This is literally block by block in your neighborhoods, the areas that we're going to be in that day and the areas that we're going to be in the next day. So you'll know if we're coming the next day, today's the day to get your leaves out. So I want to thank you, Tim. I want to thank Everett for that, but most importantly, I do want to thank the men and women who will be spending the next more than a month cleaning up the leaves and the other debris from the town and keeping Brighton a more attractive and safer community to live.
Thank you, Supervisor. Bill, you've been very supportive of trying to get extra effort put into our leaf collection too, and I know that that is one item in the proposal that we'll have tonight for the 2015 budget of having some overtime, much needed overtime, back in the budget so that we can concentrate on providing some extra efforts during leaf season, which we did a little bit last year. We will do it again within the budget if we can this year, but we've actually are looking at allocating some funds for specifically earmarked for that for 2015. So again, I thank you, for taking that initiative, and I know it's near and dear to your heart as well as the residents.
Thanks, Tim. It is very important. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during our open forum tonight? If not, then we will continue with our agenda. And can I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. And can I have a motion, please, to approve and file the minutes for our last two regular town board meetings, September 10th and September 23rd?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. As I mentioned earlier, we do have 3 public hearings tonight. The first 2 public hearings relate to the town budget. The first is the actual public hearing on the proposed 2015 preliminary operating and capital improvement budget. And the second one is on the proposed 2015 assessment rolls for service charges, maintenance charges, capital improvement, and sewer rent charges for special improvement districts. Now, I don't necessarily expect you to, or any of us for that matter, to know exactly which one of those 2 budget hearings your comments should be directed. So although we will call 2 separate public hearings, don't fret if you'd like to address the budget, but you aren't sure which one of them, come on up to the microphone and we will make sure that your comments are considered as they relate to both of these matters. Tim just mentioned one of the important factors of the budget, that we have proposed increased effort in our fall leaf removal and in our winter snow removal services. The overtime, our lawn and garden debris services in the spring. The winter snow removal services, the overtime is already there unless Mother Nature cooperates the way she didn't last year. And in a moment, I'm going to ask our budget director, Andrew Robinson, to make a summary of the important provisions of the preliminary budget. But I would note that again this year, the town board is holding 2 public hearings. State law requires that we hold 1 public hearing, but we have long believed that the more opportunity the public has to hear and absorb what is a very complicated and detailed budget, the opportunity to process that budget and to give us your feedback, the more we can do to address the needs and desires of the community. As I said before, this budget process does not start tonight. In fact, it started months ago, back in June, with requests to our departments to provide capital needs as well as their own budget needs. The town, as it does, convened our Budget Review Task Force and our Sustainability Oversight Committee to review capital requests. That process culminated in the town's capital improvement plan, which is a 3-year plan covering budget years 2015 through 2017, so that we're not making these decisions on major investments on a yearly reactive basis. We're planning ahead on a 3-year cycle. We're interfacing with our departments. We're taking those departmental requests, prioritizing them, having these community volunteers assist us in the prioritization. When we finish that process, we can incorporate the 2015 portion of that capital improvement plan as a starting point of the budget. We then process those department level requests. We hold 2 workshops. Actually, this year we held a 3rd workshop of the town board at which we first heard those requests and then had an opportunity as a board to engage in some discussion and dialogue about those requests. And now we begin the formal public hearing process for this 2015 budget and the 2015 assessment rolls. The one takeaway I want to note, as you know, Governor Cuomo in 2012, effective in 2012, initiated the tax cap program. I'm pleased to say that the proposed 2015 budget, this is the 4th year of the tax cap program, and this is the 4th year that the town of Brighton budget tax levy will be less than the tax cap number. I think that's an important indication that this board, although we address and consider many important needs in the community, we do so in a way that is fiscally prudent and responsible, and in a way that, once again, this year will allow us to stay under that tax cap. But in 2015, there's a new program, the tax freeze program. And that's a new program that takes the tax cap one step beyond. And in 2015, the state will be sending a check to residential taxpayers, homeowners, basically people who live in their own homes and meet the eligibility tests of the STAR program, checks if their taxing jurisdiction, in this case the town of Brighton, stays under the tax cap. And again, as I've noted, I'm committed, and this budget, as it's proposed now, will do that, and I am very confident that even after the 2 budget hearings and reviewing input from you, the community, as well as from members of this board, we are going to pass a budget this year that will keep the town of Brighton under the tax cap. As you may have heard, in 2016, that tax freeze program adds a new component, one that encourages local governments to engage in consolidation and, probably even more importantly, consolidation of services. The local jurisdictions here in Monroe County, from the county right on down through the villages, have begun the process through the Council of Governments of cataloging the ways in which our jurisdictions are already engaging in municipal cooperation. And they are extensive, some very large and some very small, but all of them are important because all of them are a way that 2 local governments, or in some cases all of the governments in the Monroe County area, are working together to save taxpayers money. And this board is certainly committed to that process. We will be working together with other communities in an effort going forward to meet those savings from local consolidation of services so that we can work our hardest to try to keep the town of Brighton within that tax freeze. So now I am going to turn this evening with my thanks over to our budget director, who really does the heavy lifting on this budget every year, Andrew Robinson. Why don't I suggest that board members, since we'll be projecting behind me here, we can go out into the audience and watch the projection.
thank you, Bill, for that introduction. I really actually don't do a whole lot of heavy lifting. There's lots of staff members in the town, starting with the town board all the way down to me and the department heads and all the various staff that work in the town that put in a lot of effort on the budget. And so my job's actually pretty easy. I just get to stand here and show the pictures and make it look nice. I keep- I just want to point out quickly, sometimes there's lots of different governments that affect our lives, from the federal government, state, county, the town. There's special districts, there's fire districts, there's lots of different, the library, there's all sorts of different government levels, and sometimes it's hard to remember who's providing which services, but just for a general overview of what the town is providing, some of the main areas are police. I encourage you, if you'd like to look through this presentation, it's online along with the entire budget book. I'll just point out that our budget really contains a wealth of information, much more than many of the other communities around. It has just lots of information and detail in terms of the operations of the town, all the way from the salaries of everyone in the town to every department broken out in detail. And these first couple of slides, what I was trying to point out was that this presentation's online. It's on the main webpage of the town, www.townofbrighton.org. Right on the left-hand side, there's a little tab that says Annual Budget Documents. Within there is this presentation. I encourage you, if you ever want to learn more about the town, to look through the presentation and look through the budget book. The police definitely interact with the community in a major way. We have a strong police force of 40 officers. The one statistic that stuck out to me was that roughly 46,000 calls for service in the last year. The amount of infrastructure the town has between our highway and sewer departments is really mind-boggling. The town has nearly 195 miles of roadways, 138 miles of sanitary sewer pipe, 38 miles of curbing, 83 miles of storm sewers. As was talked about earlier in the town board meeting, the town collects leaf and brush debris. I had mentioned this 2 weeks ago in my presentation, but just for a little, way to wrap your mind around how much work the town is doing. In 2013, the town collected roughly 40,000 cubic yards of brush and 23,000 cubic yards of leaves. This is roughly about 62,000 pickup loads of leaves and brush. So, a lot of work being done in a short amount of time. Also, as mentioned earlier tonight, the library is a great asset to the town. The one statistic that stands out to me every year is that over 300,000 people visit or walk through the door of the library every year. That's a large number, considering that there's only about 36,000 people in town. Our recreation and parks programs are really strong, offer hundreds of programs throughout the year. We have 6 parks and over 485 acres of parkland. And also just the general town administration between the town clerks, public works, finance office, the assessor, providing vital services for the town. I won't walk through this entire calculation, but I wanted to point out, and as the supervisor mentioned, this is the 4th year of the tax cap. The tax cap is a number that changes every year, and it's based on a somewhat complex formula, as shown here in this slide. It takes into account several factors, including starting with your prior year tax levy. That's the total amount of dollars that the town levied. It takes into account changes in the tax base, payments in lieu of taxes, inflation, and also a carryover from the previous year. So the amount that we were under the levy from the previous year, we get to carry over a portion of that. So for 2015, based on that formula, the tax cap allowable percentage was 3.09% increase. This budget proposal has a 2.74% increase, so beneath the tax cap. Just a little bit more on the tax freeze program. This kind of goes one step beyond the tax cap. What this basically does for 2015 is that if the town stays under the tax cap, any increase that we do in the tax levy will be refunded to residents that own a home that qualify for the STAR program. I just want to point out, you don't need to do anything to receive this. The state's going to calculate it on their own, and we'll be sending rebate checks in the fall. This next slide really is a good one-page overview of the total budget picture. And I'll just walk through a few of the numbers so you can understand a little bit what this is saying. The town has various funds in governmental accounting. Each fund is a separate accounting entity. So for example, if you look at the top of the slide in the general fund, you can see that in 2015, the current plan is to have $16.6 million in spending. That spending is going to be supported by roughly $7 million in non-property tax revenues, $1.2 million from fund balance and reserves, the amount that the town has in our savings account, essentially, and roughly $8.4 million from the plain property tax. You can see going across or down the page for the other funds, the highway fund, library fund, special districts, the total amount of spending. I just want to point out, you see the total for all funds, $29 million. That can kind of seem like a lot, but then when you think back to the first couple slides of what is the town providing in terms of highway, sewer, police, recreation, parks, general town administration, special districts, it's really a lot of services that the town is providing those tax dollars. This pie chart shows simply that a majority of our tax revenue is coming from the property tax levy. I just like to point that out because the town is mostly, as with most towns in the state, dependent on the property tax for the majority of our revenues, roughly 61%. There are two other revenues that are major, and I'll come back here in a second, and that can change year to year. The first one is mortgage tax. And I'll just point out that mortgage tax really fluctuates a lot. It depends on lots of different factors in the mortgage market. It's mostly driven by the amount of homes that are sold and also mortgages that are refinanced. And so you can see back in 2002, 2003 time, it really spiked at almost $1.5 million. In 2013, we hit a low, or 2011, we hit a low of roughly 700,000. So, that's almost an $800,000 swing. In the 2015 budget, one of our main challenges is that we are expecting quite a drop in mortgage tax from the rebound that we had in 2012 and 13. I think a large part of this is that interest rates have been low for so long that most of the folks that were going to refinance their mortgages have probably already done so. We project a slight rebound in terms of existing home sales, but probably a lot of the reason that there was an increase in 2011 and 12 was due to that refinance market. Sales tax, on the other hand, has been pretty stable since the economic recovery started in 2009-10. As you can see, we've had if you look over the long haul, 2000 to 2013, we've had an increase of roughly 5.5% per year. If you look just over the past couple of years, it's been a lot higher, about 11%. I think a lot of that was just the economy in general rebounding from the recession. The town, as we've always done, has tried to be conservative in our revenue approach. And for 2015, we are projecting only a 3.5% increase in sales tax, which we think is prudent, given the uncertainty sometimes in these revenue sources. On the expense side, The main challenge that we face this year, as we've faced for a couple of years, is in employee benefits, and specifically in health insurance costs. Across the country, for all employers, health insurance costs have been a major factor, and for us, it's been no different. Last year, we had a large increase, and this year we expect another large increase of roughly 17%. There's been also several changes in the federal reimbursement rates for insurance plans under the Medicare Advantage plans that the town offers to our retirees. And we expect also several jumps in our two main Medicare Advantage plans that we offer, roughly 74% in our Excellus plan and 18% in our MVP plan. The total dollar amount of these plans is kind of low compared to a normal insurance plan, so the increase in the Excellus plan, is very high, but the total dollar amount is roughly about $200 a month. But still, it's a big impact in our budget. The total impact overall is about $200,000 increase from the prior year. Talk through the medical insurance issue. Lastly, I just wanted to point out, as Bill mentioned, we have a very intensive capital planning process. And one of the things I've been most proud about working here in the town is that I think we've done a good job, especially with the leadership of the town board, of determining what capital needs are priorities, what things are important, and providing funding for those. So just a little idea of the amount of money that we're spending in the highway and public works, $3.5 million split between vehicles, road programs, our repaving, infrastructure, planning projects, tree removal, a large amount of funding. I'll point out that this is a lot of detail on the capital side of the budget is included on the town's website. You can look at the capital improvement plan. We have a 3-year rolling capital improvement plan, 2015 to 2017, as well as information in the annual budget on terms of what capital projects we're funding in 2015. The 2015 budget includes funding for 3 new police cars, bulletproof vests, firearms, and tasers, improvements to our highway and sewer facility, as well as replacement computers at the library. In the special districts, the town continues to make significant contributions to our sewer infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier, we have roughly 140 miles of sewer pipe. Maintaining that is a main priority of the town board. $172,000 towards sidewalk replacement, and as we do every year, contribution towards a equipment reserve for an ambulance replacement. That's the end of the presentation, and I'll just point out again that this is online. Anybody can go on there and look at it. If you have questions, feel free to email them to the town clerk or come to the next town board meeting in 2 weeks and voice your concerns yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. That was, as always, a very thorough presentation. I also want to thank our finance director, Suzanne Zaso. Just, one example, one of the numbers that you just saw up there was an, anticipation of a slight decrease in principal and interest payments on town debt this year. We got some news today that's really a nice down payment on that. We got the results of our latest sale of what are called bond anticipation notes, rolling over some existing debt for another year. And I'm pleased to say that we were able to borrow this year at an interest rate, to continue borrowing that was in effect at an annual interest rate of 0.79%, less than 1% per year on that debt. And that, obviously, market conditions are certainly important to that, but also the fact that we have continued to maintain a prudent financial and budgeting process with levels of fund balance that are within or exceed levels indicated as target ranges by the town board. That financial prudence has been recognized by the Moody's credit rating system with our continued AA2 credit rating, and we will continue to make every effort. We recognize that the public expects, and our goal is to provide high-quality public services, but is also our commitment to provide those services at the lowest possible responsible cost. And certainly bond results like that help and do indicate just how well our finance team is doing with their work. So I want to thank you both for that. Okay, we are in that public hearing. I just want to confirm, Dan, that the necessary legal notice was given on this budget hearing.
Yes, Supervisor, it has. It was in the October 2nd edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post.
Thank you. Then we'll begin the public hearing and ask if there is anyone in the audience that would like to address the board at this time on the 2015 preliminary operating capital improvement budget. Judy?
Good evening. My name is Judy Schwartz, and I live at 179 Ashbourne Road. I read every word in the comments that the Sustainability Oversight Committee submitted to the supervisor regarding the CIP. I was in awe at the level of detail and knowledge on the part of this committee, the time and effort spent, and the true dedication on the part of these wonderful volunteers. My concern is that I would like to know how much of their expertise is acknowledged in the implementation of the CIP as it relates to the budget. In other words, how much consideration is given to their extremely well thought out advice for the betterment of our town and our efforts to be actively going green when it comes to buying, repairing, and replacing equipment and maintaining our facilities. I realize the bidding process, but I would hope that if there were a green initiative component, the bidding could have some degree of flexibility to help the town achieve going green. There have been some steps taken, like Louise Novrose's wonderful efforts in the recycling, shredding, pharmaceutical take-back programs, and being a Tree City USA. The Curb Your Car effort and the Farmers Market are also wonderful initiatives, but are more about the residents going green. I would like to see more evidence in the administration being green. The cost may be greater at the outset, but the rewards should prove to be worth the cost in the long run. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy, and I frankly couldn't agree with you more with the caliber of our Sustainability Oversight Committee and their work product. Before I became supervisor, reading their report was powerful to me, just how much thought and attention they had put into sustainability. We will be, of course, some of those projects that you saw Andrew addressing in the budget are very much green projects, and in particular, of course, the Monroe Avenue GIGP project. And I would note that with a pilot project currently underway on Monroe Avenue in front of the Citizens Bank. In fact, I was watching them today at work and beginning to lay the first porous sidewalk in the town of Brighton. I think that's an exciting day, and what you're going to see as that project completes is a porous sidewalk system that will run basically between our two creeks that cross Monroe Avenue, Buckland Creek and Allens Creek, from the vicinity of the 12 Corners down to the vicinity of Don's Original, where the Allens Creek crosses, with parallel rain gardens, linear rain gardens between those sidewalks and Monroe Avenue, which of course will be a significant green project. You're right, one of the challenges is financial and balancing what is often short-term additional capital expenditure versus longer-term savings. One of the things that we've talked about a couple times recently, the state's new value bidding process is actually one way that we can, as we prepare and develop specifications, look to savings, because, you know, on the one hand, sometimes there are capital costs inherent in more energy efficient, but those energy savings obviously turn into cash savings over the operating period, and that's exactly what the value bidding process, you could very easily look at that as the sustainability bidding process. I'll give you one example where I feel very strongly we need to do exactly that. There is a new vehicle purchase anticipated in the fire marshal area, and I'm certainly, you know, have privately discussed, but I'm certainly ready to go on record and say that that's something that we should conduct on a value bid basis, so we can look at fuel vehicles, such as hybrid vehicles, such as the one that I drive, a C-Max, and other vehicles that are of a sufficient size, but because they are hybrids, may have a little bit higher cost up front, but will cost less to operate. We made a purchasing decision earlier this year as we looked at a couple of pieces of equipment versus one piece of equipment that came with a Class 4 engine as opposed to one that came with a Class 3 engine. Class 3 engines are no longer even permitted in newly constructed heavy construction equipment. That Class 3 engine that was proposed to us would have been cheaper, but we felt not only because the fuel economy would be worse, but also the particulate emissions from a Class 3 engine are literally a factor of 10 times worse. That was not consistent. That was not what we spec'd out. We spec'd out a Class 4 engine, and we showed that we meant it by purchasing. It cost a little more up front, but it is a more efficient and certainly a greener piece of equipment. We will continue to do that. We're not going to be able to do everything that the Sustainability Oversight Committee recommends, but I read their report cover to cover as well every year, and I get a lot out of it. So I'm glad you brought that to the community attention, Judy. They do great work. Anyone else that would like to address the board? Yes, Jim.
Good evening. Jim Weller from 85 Kirk Drive. For many years I've been the spokesperson for the Kirk Astor Neighborhood Association. Looking at the council members tonight, I noticed that only one council member, Mr. Vogel, was on the council way back in the year 2000 when the Kirk Astor Park District was first formed. So I'm going to take a moment and relate the story of the Kirk Astor Park District, where it is and how it got to be, and then why I'm here tonight. In essence, the Kirk Astor Park District was a result of the need for the neighborhood to beautify and protect our little corner of the town of Brighton. Kirk Astor is located in the corner between Route 490 and Linden Oaks. And many years ago, our good friends of the New York State DOT decided to enlarge and widen Route 441 from a 4-lane highway to about an 8-lane highway in our immediate neighborhood. In doing so, they appropriated various land in the area. They built a sound wall, and they took one of the neighborhood lots that was available and reconfigured the entrance point to the neighborhood. When the state of New York finished their highway work, they had done some beautiful landscaping, gave us a big smile, and said, "We'll be back a couple of times every year to cut the grass." I know that you folks don't cut your grass twice a year. You probably do it 3 or 4 times. We felt the same. We deserved the same. So a group of neighbors would get together every couple of weeks, particularly John Leyland of Astor Drive, And John was an extremely hardworking gentleman, and he would come over there, and every week he would cut the grass. And he did this for several years, and it's a lot of grass. It's all the grass outside of the sound wall between 490 and the Korean Veterans Memorial, all the grass inside the sound wall, the vacant lot at the entrance point of our street, plus abutting lands nearby. John is a very generous man, but there comes a point where we have to say, John, thank you very much. We need to do something better. And something better was the formation of what is, as far as I know, the only park district in town, the Kirk-Astor Park District. And it was set up for 4 purposes, for 4 reasons. What we wanted to do was to take over the mowing and the maintenance of all the common grounds that the state of New York hadn't been doing and our neighbors had been doing. We wanted to take title to the lot at the corner of Kirk and Astor, which had been the residency of the old Judge Costello and his family for many, many years. And that was taken by the state under eminent domain when they needed to reset the entrance points. We wanted to improve that lot, that vacant lot, and to make it a welcoming statement for our neighborhood, like many other neighborhoods in Brighton have a charming entrance point. And 4, we wanted to take over, when it was necessary, the maintenance of the Korean War veterans site at that corner of Kirk Drive and Route 441. That's a flagpole, some Rose of Sharon bushes, some various plantings that the Korean veterans set up about 15 years ago. And they said, so we're going to take good care of this for the next 10, 12 years, but we're all in our mid-80s now, and it's going to end one of these days, and it has ended. So that was the purpose for having the Kirk-Astor Park District. The selling point to the members of our neighborhood was everybody wanted all the things I mentioned, and we could do it for $1 a week. $1 a week in taxes was all it was going to take to accomplish all of this. And there wasn't a person in the neighborhood who said no. Some that said maybe, but everybody basically said, let's do that. It's good for our neighborhood, it's good for the town, it's good for the veterans. And so for the last several years, the town has been very helpful. They put out a contract for a mowing contract.
I'm not sure I'd say we put out a contract. It sounds sinister.
They put out a contract on the weeds. They put out a contract to take care of the weeds and the grass, and provided all the usual and necessary administrative services to keep this process going. As a result of this, at this $1 a week, and because of the diligence of Mr. Keefe in getting a good bid on the contract, what's happened is we built up a very nice little fund balance. It's at least $8,000 right now. And what we want to use that fund balance for in the next year or so, and Bill has rightly suggested that we really need to have another neighborhood sit-down meeting to really put a fine point on this. But we want to improve that corner lot. We want to acquire the lot. We want to put up a nice sign. We want to put up some fencing to set the lot off from the other backyards in the neighborhood. We've got the money in the budget now to do this. We don't have to raise any more taxes. It's all on the bank, so to speak. So what I'm here tonight, in terms of the budget to talk about, is that we would very much, and I am saying this because I can't speak for everyone in the neighborhood, but we would very much like to keep our fund balance intact. We don't want to have that siphoned off to cover our normal mowing costs and things of that nature. The second part of the budget that I'd like to chat about is that we're planning on spending, if I can find my number here, approximately $1,425 for our mowing contract for the next year. I think that was the number that was given, which is a very reasonable price for the mowing and the trimming. However, we're going to also spend another $910 on administrative costs. So for every dollar we spend in cutting the grass, we spend 63 cents on someone pushing a pencil on some paper to administer this. I don't think that's the right type of load we want. I think that administrative cost is a little heavy on the $1,400 expense. So my request is to dig in your desk drawers, find a real sharp yellow pencil, cut down those administrative costs so we can leave a little bit more money in the improvement part of this district, so we can improve the lot, and very importantly, so we can take over the maintenance of the Korean War veteran site, get that cleaned up. It's getting a little shabby now, and if we have the money in hand, that $1 a week we've all been spending from our district for the last 8-10 years would be very well spent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. And as Jim and I did discuss earlier, well, I don't remember if it was this week or last week when you were in, Monday, I think it was. Our plan, as we discussed it, is to have a meeting with the Kirk Astor neighbors probably in the first quarter of this year. Jim's right. We want to, hear from the community what their vision is for that area of land, and to have the opportunity to discuss from the town's perspective what we need to do in order to, once we come up with a consensus on what that area should look like, what we then have to do to make it happen. So that's a meeting we'll work with you, Jim, and your neighbors to call in the first part of 2015, and look forward to doing some planning to continue to beautify your neighborhood. Happy to work with you on that. Thanks for coming in. Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board during our public hearing on the budget tonight? I would remind everybody that, again, that this is the first of 2 public hearings that we will have on the preliminary budget. Our second public hearing will be at our next town board meeting on October 22nd, also at 7:30. And I do anticipate that following that second public hearing, I'll be asking the town board to take action to approve the budget.
I'd like
Yes,
to
Louise.
say something. I was reading our Towns and Topics magazine that came, and I have a question about if anybody has looked into the workman's comp and the insurance programs that are offered to towns.
We have looked at the Comp Alliance. You may recall we went through an RFP process just a couple of years ago, and that was at that point not we determined to be the most attractive option of several that we looked at. But it's certainly something we will continue to review periodically. Of course, on the liability side, we have worked with their sister organization, NYMIR, also affiliated with the State Association of Towns, the New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal, and that has turned out to be a very attractive proposition for the town, and an example that has been going back now for decades of municipalities working together. So we'll continue to look at it. The workers' comp market is one that changes, as does the liability market. So we'll continue to look to see whether that program, makes financial sense for us.
Okay. Because, I mean, we're always complaining about the 20-30% increase per year for the health insurance, and this one says it's an average.
Well, that's workers' comp.
No, this is the.
That's the Comp Alliance.
They
is the
said,
workers'
yeah,
comp.
right, and that one they says about average about 10%. So
Yeah.
that's something I'm looking into. And the premium?
Healthcare is something that, as Andrew has mentioned, we will be continuing to look at some alternatives there that we're hopeful, even though we have, again, a relatively large, although less than last year, increase. We're hoping, based on our increasingly positive experience, that we will be able to take some further measures to contain those health insurance premiums.
And what about the mega municipal electric and gas?
That's a new program of the State Association of Towns, and actually at our last meeting of the executive committee of the Association of Towns, we got a briefing on that project. Right now, the town is a part of a consortium here in Monroe County for energy purchases, but we're going to look at whether that new program is more attractive for us, but we are already generating significant double-digit savings over market prices through the buying power of the Monroe County Energy Consortium. So, but again, the Association of Towns, and I'll just, I mentioned the executive committee. I am a member of the executive committee of the association, but they're working very hard to try to identify ways that local governments can save money, in addition to the traditional work they've done as sort of consultants in some ways for local towns, but also as an educational resource for local towns and town officials at all levels. And these new programs really are a recognition of the difficult, challenging times we face, the imperatives of the governor's tax freeze and tax cap program, and the association continues to work with us to try to, address those issues and help us operate more efficiently. But thank you for, those are all, real good questions, and whether or not we decide that this year is the time to enter any of those programs, they're all things we should continue to review as we go forward. Any other comments on this first public hearing on the budget? Hearing none, we will continue this public hearing at our October 22nd town board meeting. Now, our next public hearing on the agenda for tonight is the, again, first of two public hearings to consider the proposed 2015 assessment rolls for service charges, maintenance charges, capital improvements, and sewer rent charges for our special improvements district. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given on this?
As the October 2nd edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post.
And in addition, pursuant to the decision of the Court of Appeals several years ago, you also published a notice of this public hearing in the fall issue of the town newsletter.
Correct.
Thank you. That's, again, above and beyond what state law requires, but the Court of Appeals determined that that additional notification should be done as a matter of due process to give all property owners in the town, make them all aware of these of this public hearing, which addresses special improvement districts like water districts and sewer districts, and determining whether the valuation rules and the level of fees for those services are accurate. So with that, I now declare this public hearing open. Is there anyone that would like to address the board on the assessment roll public hearing? Anyone here on the board that would like to address this hearing? Again, I would note that we will continue and hold the second public hearing on this matter on October 22nd. Hearing none, then I declare we will continue this public hearing at the October 22nd, 2014 meeting of the Brighton Town Board, at which time, again, and I'll note what I said at the start, whether you comment during the budget hearing or the assessment roll hearing, we will consider those comments in whichever hearing is appropriate. Jim Weller, his comments were directed to the Kirk-Astor Park District. Technically, that really relates to this second public hearing, the assessment roll and service charges on a special improvement district, and we will make sure that those comments are properly considered as part of the public hearing for that matter, as well as the hearing on the budget itself. We'll now move to the third public hearing tonight, public hearing on proposed local law number 7 of 2014, Fire Protection Systems Licensure local law. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given in this matter?
This notice was also in the October 2nd edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post.
Thank you. I think what I will do, I know our town attorney has worked on this, and also our fire marshal, Chris Roth, has worked on this matter. Well, I'll start with you, Ken, and Chris as well. If there's more material you want to add before we start the public portion of the public hearing, please do, but the public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Supervisor. Actually, all of the credit and most of the knowledge is Chris Roth's. This was his initiative in bringing to the board an amendment to our town code to provide for a permitting and licensure system to make sure that folks who install these systems are appropriately certified and have the appropriate credentials to make sure that the installations are safe and that the systems operate as they're designed to operate to suppress fires. But I really think Chris should probably come up to the podium give a little background on this and explain to the board the purpose and the idea behind this proposed amendment.
Good. Chris?
Good evening. I'd like to start out by saying thanks to Ken Gordon and my direct supervisor, Tim Keefe, Public Safety Committee members, Town Board, Council people. This has been a long journey to get here, and I want to thank you for all your continued support, your ears, and your hard work. We drafted this because of a stepped approach. We were trying to make sure that the fire protection contractors in town have the proper insurances, that they make sure that they're working in these businesses and residents within the town, that they are properly insured and credentialed. It also allows us to look at their in-service training to make sure that they are properly trained to work on these systems. And ultimately, at the end of the project, which most of these problems have occurred, is when somebody's trying to open a new business or open something up that has fire protection systems in them, sometimes the contractors are not meeting the obligations to get these commenced for openings, to get them tested correctly and to get them commissioned. So you have in front of you as a document to try to fine tune that process up. It allows us to look at their credentialing. It allows us to look at their training. It allows us to address if they're not following the code. And it also ultimately helps the residents of the community because now we know that we have good qualified contractors doing work for us.
Thank you, Chris. Again, the public hearing is open. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address proposed local law number 7 of the town of Brighton? Any questions or comments from members of the board?
The only additional comment I wanted to add is in the resolution you have before you, which I understand has not yet been moved, but at the conclusion of the public hearing I expect it will be, the resolution really does a couple different things. It adopts a negative declaration relative to the environmental impact of this. Actually, I think this probably has a good environmental impact on the community, but the determination is that it's no significant environmental impact, and so there's a negative declaration under seeker. It also obviously amends the town code, and that has to be sent off to Albany to take effect. And then lastly, the new provisions give to the town board the opportunity to set fees for the permitting and licensure that is required under this code, and that is being set at $100. So that is sort of the last thing that this resolution will accomplish.
Thanks, Ken. And that is a yearly permit fee. The permits have a duration, or licenses have a duration of a year.
Yeah, we had some discussion about that, but I think that's what we ultimately resolved, is $100 for an annual license or annual permit.
Mr. Roth, did you have any discussion at all with the vendors in the community about their reaction to this licensing process? Do they welcome it? Make sure that only qualified people then are out there in the marketplace?
We've been working with the vendors on a multi-year situation and preparing them for this process. The large vendors that are properly represented by protected districts or selling are all in favor of this. I've never yet fielded a negative comment about how this will impact. We've actually talked about this is good because folks are going to get training, they're going to get hands-on, we are going to get better product in the field. And it makes the competition amongst the vendors even better because now they're all at a level or even playing field. You don't have somebody that hasn't received training, that doesn't have liability insurance, that doesn't have some of these other expenses trying to bid against another person. So they're all very supportive because it does level the playing field, at least here in the town of Brighton.
Was this the one of the reasons that you had that conference here where you had workmen in? It was last year, I think.
We had a fire protection workshop that we brought all the high occupancy residents or high occupancy buildings in town, Jewish home, friendly home, all places at high hazards, and then we brought them in adjacent to the fire protection contractors. So we had a sampling of both in the room, and we talked about how we're going to work together. And again, it was a very positive feedback as to that program. We talked to them about what our anticipations were, how the facilities were going to be potentially impacted, what it was about. And again, at the end of that workshop, I did not receive one negative feedback as to, this is going to put me out of business, or this is going to have a negative impact on how am I going to service my customers.
Because I was sitting in the back of the room for most of it, and all of the people in the room were very positive about it. And we're telling you, it's about time that we had this kind of a workshop and that we got some of these things out in the open. So I think that was a very good way of getting everybody together and knowing what's expected.
As our creed in the office usually is, as part of most of our job is education.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do that, and we've started this process about 2 to 3 years ago. So we have started to let the folks know where we're going. There's no surprises in this. We have put together some programs. I'm going to go tomorrow to a class that's being held in Victor, and that probably 60 or 70 of these contractors are going to be there. And the reason I'm going to be there is because if I'm asking them to do something, I think it's important that I'm there to support them as well. And I think that sends a very good message to them that we are vested in this program as well as they are.
Great.
The only other thing that I want to add to supplement Chris's comments is one of the reasons why this has taken a period of time over a couple of years in maturing and developing is because Chris has an expansive knowledge in this area. And I think as we started this process of crafting a town code amendment, the knowledge base that Chris had was transformed into a set of code provisions that were very specific and detailed and set up a criteria that we knew that we would feel very comfortable with. And then in speaking to the industry and in thinking about how this would impact the industry, we wanted to make sure that our standards were consistent with standards that industry folks were being required to comply with otherwise, and that we weren't just adding a layer of bureaucracy. And so you'll see in this code amendment what we've done is we've said that there are two options essentially for a permittee to get a license, and that is to comply with the standards, national industry standards under the NICE, National Institute for Certification of Engineering Technologies, or to already be licensed by the city of Rochester. And so that was done specifically to lessen the burden on those in this business, so that we're not asking them to jump through a unique set of Brighton rules to be able to install these systems. And so that, I think, is part of what we tried to do as well.
One further comment to add on what Ken said. If you hold a license in another municipality and we find that to be equal or greater, we will take that as a reciprocity. So if I'm licensed in the city of Syracuse to do this work, their city of Syracuse license is of equal value or higher, so therefore they could come into us, show us that they're currently licensed someplace else, and that could be out of state as well. We have a lot of national vendors that come in. So again, we've tried to take a look at this on how it could affect folks and not make this a cumbersome process, but more of just providing some oversight.
Thank you, Chris. Anything further, either from the audience or from the board?
No, Chris, I know that you've been spending some time on this, and you brought this to the Public Safety Committee earlier this year and went back and fine-tuned it with further research, and thank you for your efforts.
Again, thank you. Each and every one of you up front would not make, wouldn't be here tonight without your energy, effort, and input to this.
Thank you. Hearing nothing further, I declare this public hearing to be closed. Jason, as
Yes.
Public Safety Committee Chair, I'd invite a motion.
Absolutely. With respect to the proposed local law number 7 of 2014 entitled Fire Protection Systems Licensure, I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second. And I would again, as the attorney noted, that resolution not only provides for the adoption of the local law and the negative declaration, but it also sets the fee for the annual license at $100. We have a motion and we have a second.
Just to make the record completely clear, when we're talking about an annual license, what we're actually talking about here is a calendar year license.
Correct.
So that license expires December 31st each year. So if you apply for a license October 31st, it's still going to expire December 31st of that year. You don't get a full year on that license.
Right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Can I have a motion? Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Ken. Can I have a motion to receive and file communications?
So moved.
Second?
The one communication we have tonight relates to the DOT project. It's from the state DOT concerning the status of the DOT safety project in the Can of Worms, the ramp from 490 eastbound, in other words, outbound from the city of Rochester to 590 northbound, and notifying us that that safety project, which they had hoped to begin this year, is now going to be worked on by the state next year. Tim, anything more that you know about this project?
I think, the synopsis you provided, Bill, and the letter from the state pretty much sums it up. The state is going through a number of these projects and, in the area. I think that's probably the most important thing. Locally, we have another one underway on Monroe Avenue that we push for. So it's, generally, these are very good things because they're not necessarily done to increase traffic volume, but they're really looking at these from the inherent safety aspects and probably have been warranted based upon incidents and accidents.
Yeah, in particular, their plan is to install some what they call high-friction pavement in that area, which will make it less likely that vehicles, particularly large vehicles, would lose traction and potentially skid off the ramp and even over the railings. And
I think we've had a couple incidents where that has happened, which has prompted this. So again, the state, generally when they get to the point where there has been documentation, they do look into these and they do want to make the safety improvements because that is one of their, obligations to the motoring public.
Okay, we have a motion to receive and file that piece of communication. Anything further? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Committee reports. Louise, Parks and Recreation and Community Service.
Parks and Recreation have not met since the last town board meeting. Our next meeting will be on the 20, what is it here? I keep forgetting the dates. It's the 3rd. Just a minute. It's going to be the 27th of October at 4:30 at Brookside. However, I want to report on the pharmaceutical take-back that we had last weekend. We collected, statistics here, 765 pounds of pharmaceuticals. We had 252 cars come through, 4 walkers and 3 bikers. We have collected a total of 11,970 pounds, or 6 tons, just under 6 tons, since we started this program in June of '09. I talked with Tim Karsh, who was the officer at the event, and I want to thank him again, and also Mark. They brought 4 or 5 of the Explorer Scouts to help out, as well as Bill was there, and
Dan was there?
Dan, of course, he's everywhere, and so he was there to help too. I questioned the officer about the poundage because I had 8,409 pounds that we've collected in all these events, and he said that he added to that everything that's been brought to the lobby, as well as I think they go to nursing homes and collect during the month as well. So we're very fortunate to have him helping us out, and we have a letter from the DEA. The DEA, they have again said that this time the National Take Back Day was held. There were over 6,000 pounds of pills collected regionally. Brighton Police Department collected the most with 765 pounds, followed by Webster with 554 pounds. This was the last Take Back Day event sponsored by the DEA. Thank you for all your continued help. I don't know if I think we should continue to do it because people like it, they want it, and they thank us for it. So I don't know what the...
Can I be the bearer of bad news?
Huh?
We were going to have a meeting. Those take-back initiatives could only operate with the approval of the DEA. And the DEA is taking a different path. We have a drug drop-off box at the police department. We have to operate under pretty strict guidelines as to how we... It has to be in a secure lobby. It is. We have to empty it daily. We do. And we have to dispose of pharmaceuticals according to not only federal standards, we also have state environmental conservation standards. That all said, the Justice Department, the Department of Justice, has given approval to pharmacies, commercial pharmacies, and it's not a mandate because they couldn't get it through Congress in the form of a mandate, but it's a directive that the pharmacies start taking back unwanted pharmaceuticals through a drop box at commercial establishments. That said, I think, as you know, I chair the Law Enforcement Council, and I spoke to the DEA special agent in charge of Rochester last week. There is pretty clear indication that we are not going to have approval to operate a large-scale initiative, take-back initiative. So our fallback will be that pharmaceutical box that we have. As part of our community engagement initiative, we go out to the nursing homes, and we'll continue to do that. I will check to see what I can do, but there are no guarantees. All indicators are that the DEA will not give us approval for it, and I have to go through New York City DEA to get that approval. I'll try, but I'm getting some indicators that it probably won't work.
That's too bad.
Well, Louise, you know, again, you've been a very, I was going to say visible, and you have been, but you also have, you've done it in a way that really you've shared the credit for a great program with a lot of different people, and I appreciate that, but it wouldn't be there without the leadership that you've shown. Again, it would not be possible without the leadership of our police department, Chief Henderson, before him Chief Volkel, and if it doesn't continue, that is unfortunate, but I think, having the collection box in town, in the public safety wing, your continued efforts at outreaching to get as many people in, and even if that means going to the nursing homes, I hope we can continue to get larger and larger quantities, and I do hope that the pharmacies we have, the three major chains, Rite Aid, Walgreens, and CVS here in Brighton, I certainly hope that each of them will participate in this program, install collection boxes, make sure that they're free, and make sure that it's safe and easy for our residents, because our residents do love this program, and they will recycle and return pills and other medications. So let's hope we find a way to continue to keep these medications out of the waste stream, out of our water streams, and out of the hands of children who sometimes misuse them.
I think we can go to New York City and convince them to...
Oh, I think I can convince them. I'll talk to them.
We'll work on it.
Okay. And also, one more thing is the electronics recycling and the shredding will be on the 18th of September, which is in 2 weeks.
October.
I'm sorry, October I have. And I did call Maven Technologies, who is the company that we use for electronics, asked him about what you had read about TVs, people having their masks. He said no, they will continue to collect televisions. there is a certain kind of a formula or something, but it is not affecting them.
Good.
So they can bring TVs.
I had gotten a report, and that's great news, Louise. The Eco Park has restricted their ability to take back TV sets because they have received so many of them. But I'm pleased that Maven and our program will not be so restricted. So bring in your TV sets, your computer monitors, your computers. October 18th. That starts at, is that 9?
It's from 9 to 12 in the parking lot of the Public Works, Public Operations Center.
1941 Elmwood Avenue.
It's right next to the Brightonian. They share a driveway. Yes. Judy?
Can you bring back cartridges from copiers and things like that too? Okay.
The only thing, I keep getting questions about batteries. Some people have brought them, and I think that they're not supposed to. I know that at the farmer's market, Color Brighton Green takes
little ones,
little batteries. So if at all possible, do not bring your batteries.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, anything electronic.
Thanks, Louise.
Okay.
Finance, Chris.
Bill, the Finance had their third meeting of the month last week, Tuesday, and on September 30th, and all the matters are on tonight's agenda, so we'll review them there. But in addition, we did have a discussion with the Brighton Volunteer Ambulance Finance Director and Dennis Mites as well of the Corps, about how third-party billing process works and their collection rates, et cetera, and trying to address an issue regarding what the impact on these high-deductible insurance plans are on the costs of the town, et cetera. It has been very worthwhile and very educational discussion. It's always something we need to look at. It's a very essential service to the town, but all other matters will be on tonight's agenda. The next meeting will be Tuesday, October 14th at 3:30 p.m. in the Stage Conference Room, and the public is invited.
Thank you, Chris. Jason, Public Safety?
Yes, the Public Safety Committee has not met since our last town board meeting. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, October 14th. We meet at 8 in the morning, and we meet in the lower level community meeting room, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Jim, Public Works?
Public Works met this past Monday. And at that time, we had, during the open forum, a large number of residents from the Newcrest Drive neighborhood, as well as Brooklawn, and they came in. It was all the people from the Rollins Track, as it's called. They attended the meeting to discuss the drainage and sanitary concerns for that area. The town staff, it was a very good discussion, I think. Very good. And the town staff has agreed to prepare a questionnaire that will be distributed to the neighborhood, all the residents of the neighborhood, as a first step in determining the scope and the extent of these issues. I don't mean to imply that we're in 3 feet of water over there or anything like that, but during the heavy rainstorms, it did point up that we do have a drainage issue over there, and some of those areas are almost like a swale that have trapped the water. It's almost like a retention pond. But Tim, with regard to this questionnaire, how soon will we be ready for this?
We do have a draft being circulated around the office, Jim, so we're very close, and I think we may just hit that, processing as we talked about by having it out by the end of the week. If not, people will see it next week for sure.
So this will be distributed to all the neighbors in that Roland Tract, which is a neighborhood who covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 5 or 6 streets.
Yeah, a number of them.
Right. It generally is bounded by Brooklawn on the west, Roosevelt, and Edgeview is in there too. That's in a little corner that goes from Monroe to Westfall. So all the streets within that area will get the questionnaire and the survey.
Westfall and Monroe.
Right. The purpose of this survey is to identify those folks who are having water problems on their lots and in their basements and so forth, and to get contact points, email addresses, and so forth.
And then we expect to work this through over the coming weeks and months in a collegial manner, and this is the way your government should work.
there are both drainage issues, but in some cases there are also sewer issues. We've certainly, sanitary sewer, we've certainly identified, for example, that the Newcrest sanitary line is relatively shallow, and that makes it difficult to get sufficient slope from the laterals coming out of homes. You know, this neighborhood, Newcrest, was built in the 50s, 60s. The rest of the neighborhood is older than that. So this is a problem that was 50 years in the making, and frankly, it's a function of construction standards and environmental standards not being the same then as they are today, and not anticipating the impact of future growth. We heard people talk about how there used to be open areas with sort of drainage swales or ponds along Monroe Avenue, and I haven't been around for 60 years, but anybody that drives down the avenue today knows there are, you know, retail and other facilities right up and down that stretch. And the types of drainage systems that were in place don't meet up to what we have today. But the point of that is that because this is a 50-plus year problem, it's not a problem that we are going to be able to solve and install solutions for in a matter of weeks and months. This is going to be, you know, as we said, the start of finding a solution started at that meeting, and we're going to be gathering data. Our engineering staff, and kudos to Mike Guyon, who put together that questionnaire and is going to be, I know, doing a lot of work on the development of some potential solutions. But we're going to have to do that kind of work. We're going to have to identify where the problems are, what causes those problems, what kind of solutions are possible. Then we'll have to come up with the design specs, and unfortunately, sometimes the most challenging of all, figuring out how we're going to pay for those. So, because these are facilities that are significant capital facilities, and will have to be structured, you know, probably in a drainage district, perhaps the sewer work will have to be a part of a sewer a district capital charge. But you know, there will be expenditures, you know, potentially significant to solving these problems, and they will take time. And you know, we can commit, and we really do appreciate. We say this a lot, but this was a great example that. These committee meetings are an opportunity for people to come in and take the time that it takes. We spent about an hour and a half more with the folks in this neighborhood.
Yeah, we did.
And we'll spend a lot more time.
It was quite frustrating to hear the report from the department that when 50 people show up, this seems to be a problem of huge magnitude, that why hasn't something been done? But at the same time, no one has been taking the time, apparently, to give notice to the department. 27 complaints in 30 years. People need to come forward, just like they did at that meeting, with a positive attitude and with an attitude towards solution, which is always impressive here when we're meeting with the public, and they identify a problem, and they also propose different solutions and an openness to appreciate how large a task this is.
So it's going to be a work in progress, but
yes, it is.
It's very collegial, and I felt good about the dialogue that we had with the.
But that wasn't all we did at that meeting, was it, Jim? We interrupted you. Keep going.
So, anyway, next one. Next item was the incentive zoning. University of Rochester South Campus IPD proposal, and the representatives from the university were with us, and they attended the meeting to discuss the status of the findings. Statement and what near-term actions might be, inclusive of conducting another public information meeting with the residents in that area over there. So I think more to follow on that, but as the weeks ahead, I think U of R is demonstrating a real good neighbor policy with regard to how they're approaching this whole proposal, and a lot more to follow on that. But we all agree that a public information meeting with the neighbors over there is very much in order, and I think it'd be very helpful.
And we do have representatives of the university here tonight. We are going to be receiving and filing formally a findings statement under the State Environmental Quality Review Act seeker, with the anticipation that at our next town board meeting, we will take action to adopt, to consider the adoption of that finding statement. But again, there will be another neighborhood meeting to give an update, and that is, I don't know if that's, have we confirmed the date and time on that, Tim?
I think we're shooting for that last Wednesday in October, Bill.
Yep.
I know Jose's in the audience, and he and Ramsey have been working doggedly on this, and it's another, as you said, positive to to embrace the public, get them out, get them up to speed on things. I think personally, from the department standpoint, Jose has taken the initiative to work on this interaction as we go through this, because this is a large project with a fairly significant magnitude of development, going through all the issues, and we do appreciate that level from the university where we're at to try to make this happen by doing things right and methodically, so that, again, as we've said many times up here, it's a very transparent process that has come before committees and the town board. And I think it reflects well on, on the university in this regard, as well as town staff to go through it the way we have.
We'll no doubt be talking about it a little bit more, but once we finish that environmental review, we will be in a position to consider the substantive incentive zoning and rezoning proposal and their first proposed building and imaging and other outpatient care facility on East River Road, but more on that to follow a little later on the agenda.
Is the the meeting you're going to have with neighbors going to be before the next town board meeting?
No, that would be the Wednesday following it. Louise.
Here comes Jose. We'll let.
And I will turn it over to Jose, and also say that not only is he a representative of the university, but he also does reside in town, and I think he has a very common mentality that we have too, is how we handle these projects.
Jose Fernandez at 271 East River Road. We mailed out today notices to about 300 or 400 of the local residents in West Brighton, adjacent to the South Campus, notifying them that we're going to be holding an information meeting on October 29th at 7 p.m. and it'll be held at the old St. Agnes facility, where we've had these previous sessions. We also are in the process of sending out email notifications to those who attended the previous meeting and left us their email address as well. We are trying to get that out as quickly as possible. I know that the neighbors were concerned that the last time we had the meeting, the notices went out late, and we tried really hard to make sure we gave them as much time as possible.
Thanks, Jose.
Okay. All right, the last item was under new business. We had Carl Webeck from RG&E come in to discuss the streetlight conversions that we've been talking about, where they are looking for the Public Service Commission approvals issued that will allow conversion to begin the existing lighting system throughout the town, which will allow for the installation of more energy efficient lights. It's anticipated this work will begin, later this year, Tim?
Some of the work, Jim, is very readily available to start. I know RG&E will be looking at that first, but also included in this, which I think is the bigger and the better news, is that it has an effect on a lot of the lighting in the neighborhood lighting districts. I know we don't have a date quite yet that we will begin working in some of the neighborhoods, but this is envisioned to be a multi-year project, and so it won't happen, within one construction season or not. But the proposal by RG&E will make the not only the lighting more efficient, but it will also isolate and probably put in sub-circuits that will make it easier to maintain and identify when there's a problem and get these lights back up and running. but they're also looking at how they're doing this. Technically, it will put less demand on the system so that it should perform and be much more reliable than what we've had. I think it's actually a credit to RG&E. It's something that I think they were able to look at internally with their electrical engineers and their engineering staff and come up with a solution. So it really appears to be a very positive way to approach this, and it will, it actually helps with the greening of the town because we're going to more efficient lighting than what we have out there.
Tim, you want to describe the type of lighting that they plan to convert from and to?
Yeah, and one of the things that's held up RG&E for a period of time is that they needed to have the Public Service Commission approve this type of lighting, which was not on their tariffs. It's metal halide, and it's more efficient than the incandescent lighting that is out there now in the neighborhoods. The incandescent lighting is, as you know, we're trying to get away from incandescent lighting even in our own homes because it's not that efficient. So typically what you'll do is you'll have approximately 1/2 to maybe even 1/3, depending on the wattage of the existing lighting out there now, of the new lighting being that much more efficient. It'll be, quite a bit less energy demand. So right there, we're saving on the demand side of the power, and that does get reflected in the probably in the district billing from the energy consumption standpoint. Some of the other costs in the tariff, because the tariff is a number of variables in how they figure these things out.
And we understand the coverage, the lumens, is going to be broader than what we have right now with the incandescent lights.
Yeah, the wattage will be less, but the lumens will be greater. So it'll be a more even distribution of the light throughout the neighborhoods. And the reason we went with the metal halide lighting is because it's a very it's as close but not perfect rendition to the incandescent bulbs, being more of a whiter light than the high pressure sodium, which is a pinkish light. And we do know, and the town has designated the HARP fixtures as a landmark aspect of the town. So we're really trying to strive to keep in line with what we have historically to replace that, so it mimics as best what we have here now, but greener.
And the other thing is, this is really complementary to the Sustainability Committee.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is very much in line with improving our energy efficiency throughout the town. So.
And we did ask, because you're absolutely right, Jim. This is an issue that the Sustainability Oversight Committee has identified. They have specifically talked, and rightly so, about LED lighting. And we asked about LED lighting. Again, at this point in time, RG&E is apparently not tariffed for LED lighting in their residential street lighting systems. LED technology has been evolving, and price efficiency has been coming down. We did ask whether in the future these systems could be again upgraded to incorporate LED lighting, and it sounds like they can be. That can't happen until they're tariffed. We certainly encourage RG&E to go in that direction. It's unfortunate this has taken too long, and we do appreciate RG&E working through with this. And I don't want to point the finger at them, because it has been a PSC tariffing process, but it has taken too long, and as a result, too many of our neighborhoods have endured too many street lighting outages that have made it difficult to walk in the evenings. And so we're hoping that as they go down the next technological upgrade road, that we're able to see in the not too distant future the ability to start putting in LED lighting, particularly for new construction.
Right.
The other item they discussed was the use of the existing wiring in the ground, which was encouraging, with a very limited amount of excavation, essentially to set up the different circuits.
Yep.
So
but not the total tariff.
Yeah. And we even got a blackboard demonstration or whiteboard demonstration of exactly how that was going to occur and what those lines look like underground. It's quite interesting.
All right. Our next meeting is Monday, November 3rd at 9 a.m. in the lower level community meeting room.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Yep.
We have no old business tonight. New business. Chris, reading and approval of the claims.
Bill, I've reviewed claims totaling $398,823.11, which appear to be appropriate. Those of significance, at least to my eye, were some $86,000 in commercial insurance premiums being paid through the Paris-Kerwin agency for the year. The ash borer treatment of all municipal trees for $30,967.
Street trees.
Street trees, excuse me. Which is a very significant program that we're undertaking here to try to save our ash trees from the borer. The shelter at Buckland Park, the new pavilion, which is a donation from a community group, including the...
don't say the K word. That's the Brighton Rotary Club.
Rotary Club.
And also Dr. Mahendra Nanavati, who is also a member of the
very generous that pavilion's going to go up in Buckland Park. And bee treatment of the library this time. It was the police department last meeting, and now at the library. Apparently bees are become a nuisance here, so $89 there. But the claims appear to be appropriate, and I move that they be approved for payment.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is the approval to accept donations made by various corporate sponsors totaling $4,750 to support the 2014 July 4th celebration. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion? We can, why don't you read the, you don't have to read the amounts, but let's thank those.
The corporate sponsors were Wegmans, or the total sponsors, not just corporate. Wegmans, Harvey M. Nussbaum, Cornerstone Kitchens, Paris-Kerwin Associates, J.P. Morgan Chase, Canandaigua National Bank, ESL Federal Credit Union, Stantec, and the Summit Federal Credit Union. I made a request that the different departments who have fundraisers or who have people sponsoring different things that they do, that we get together and make lists of all the people that we have used, so that we don't have to continually go back to the same people 5 and 6 times a year. And we can work it out somehow that we're not burdening anybody. So that will be coming up.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussions? Thank you to all of those very generous businesses. We couldn't do our 4th of July the way we do without you. Nothing further. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. And as long as we're saying thank you, Louise, we have
The
a
next
couple of
one.
other people to thank.
Yes, the next matter is approval to accept donations in the amount of $400 made through the Rochester Area Community Foundation to support ambulance and fire services, $200 each in the town. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And again, why don't you identify the Harpers?
Yes.
We can thank them.
The $400 came from Mr. and Mrs. William R. Harper through the Rochester Area Community Foundation, and we thank them very much.
We have a motion, and who seconded that? You, Jason? Yeah. Discussion. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. We do appreciate all the support that our residents and our businesses give to our important organizations like this. Thank you very much to the Harpers. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to seek approval for the town court to submit an application for the 2014-2015 Justice Court Assistance Program grant in the amount of $15,365.52. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Bill, this is a matter I'm pleased to see the court is looking into some alternative source of funding. This is something we very much wanted to put into the 2015 budget. We're finding difficulty in finding the room, particularly for the court doors, that the both the justices have indicated, have been a distraction in the court. If they can find that independent resource, that'd be terrific.
Well, sure would be.
And in fact, even the Court Watch organization identified that as a challenge,
that's right.
making it difficult for people to hear and follow court proceedings. So hopefully that, all of those reasons will support approval of that grant. But this is to authorize the submission of that application. And we have a motion and a second. Anything further? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. We have a couple of budget transfers that went through finance. So Chris, I'll let you take these.
Next item, Bill, is for approval of the 2014 budget transfer of $3,985 from the Department of Public Works Engineering Fees account to the part-time wages and the FICA budget accounts to support additional work required for review of existing and future building permit submissions. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye.
Bill, the next item is for approval of 2014 budget transfers from various highway department accounts totaling some $10,500 to the vehicle parts and maintenance repair accounts to support unexpected repairs needed for the town loaders. I move that we adopt the resolution approving this transfer as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute a stormwater maintenance agreement for the property located at 2787 Monroe Avenue. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Tim, maybe just a quick explanation on this?
Certainly, Mr. Supervisor. This is actually the Dunkin' Donuts project that is going in on Monroe Avenue. This is consistent with past practice and requirements actually of our stormwater regulations that we have to have these agreements, just from the standpoint that if enforcement needs to be had because of lack of maintenance or some other situation unforeseen, the town is able to step in and remedy the situation and, charge the, the property owner for these services.
Good. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Anything further? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter is to authorize supervisor to execute agreement with the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority to provide 25% of cost-sharing requirement in cash or in-kind contribution on grant award of $150,000 from the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, their Cleaner, Greener Communities program, to support the town's comprehensive plan update project. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion?
Is,
Sorry.
when this is done, will they be ready to start?
We have a contract that is being reviewed, and once that contract has been reviewed and signed off on, and really the goal there is to make sure that we, retain local control, subject to our understanding that these sustainability principles that are incorporated in, well, they were incorporated in our grant application in the first place, but they are incorporated in this program, are carried out. We want to make sure that that local control continues to be. We've, I think, been very responsible stewards of our long-range land use planning in Brighton, and we want to make sure that, as we have in other areas, that we do have local control over those land use decisions. But once we get all those language issues worked out, yeah, we're going to be moving ahead on the
I'm not sure exactly who you meant by whether they will be ready to go. I mean, the consultant has not yet been selected.
Well, no, when I say
Right,
they,
because they
it's
haven't-
the plan committee.
The committee is being held up doing their work because they haven't been able to even discuss a consultant because of all the, red Not red tape.
Once we have a scope of work, then we can put it out in an RFP.
And I understand the town share is to be 25% of the $150,000, would bring the total cost of the project upwards of $187,500, depending how the bid comes in.
Correct.
The town has a 25% share, of which perhaps all, but at least a large portion will be in-kind services
In-kind service,
to our different
yeah.
departments.
Yeah.
And we're also looking at whether or not the folks that are volunteering on the board and doing the actual professional work might also count towards that. That's an if. We're not sure about that, but but the town's looking at different ways to meet their burden of that contract, their share of that contract.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to adopt a new wage rate. I've jumped ahead here. Excuse me. To solicit for proposals to provide professional consulting services for the comprehensive plan update and the necessary environmental review. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Apropos of what Ken just said.
This is our setting this out for request for proposal and bids from different consultants.
Yeah.
Further discussion?
Has there been any communication given to the comp plan steering committee members, just to let them know that be on the lookout that we're going to be getting this started back up soon?
I believe that if it hasn't gone out, it's going to. There's been some informal communication, but yeah, we will make sure we keep them in the loop.
They had a nice summer, and it's time to get back to work.
And you're the liaison to that committee, so.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Time to get to work.
Time to get to work.
Dan, please call the roll on that.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Bill, another matter discussed at the Finance Committee. We're seeking approval to adopt new wage rates for all seasonal town employees effective December 31, 2014. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Bill, this relates to the anticipated increase in the state minimum wage to $875 an hour, which then will adjust all the other seasonal employees accordingly.
Did we have a second? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Jim did.
Just one correction. The schedule that is attached is the incorrect schedule.
The one that has the years flipped?
This has rates effective December 31st of 13.
Yes.
The rates actually are going to be in effect December 31st of 14, and these are not the right rates that you're seeing here. The right rates obviously would start at $8.75 an hour and go up from there, not at $8 an hour.
We have those
We
right
do,
rates
yeah.
here in the room?
We could probably go print those if you give us an opportunity to go do that.
Well, the proper chart was reviewed at the committee meeting. This one
And it
just
was,
seems to be
yeah, and
straight.
I reviewed the proper chart as well, and the
Why don't
finance
we
director
do
has.
that? We have a motion, we have a second, but if you could, if
We
you
could-
would,
we could
please,
hold on
Suzanne,
this
we'll
one.
hold on the vote, and we'll move on to the next item, Chris.
Well, the next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute an administrative services agreement with the Lifetime Benefit Solutions, INC, for services to administer the employee flexible spending accounts for 2015. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Discussion?
Bill reviewed at Finance. This is the same group that's providing the service in the past at a fairly comparable rate, only an increase of 10 cents per participant.
Same company, different name.
Yeah. Nothing further. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is to receive and file proposed code amendment regarding animals and refer to Planning Board for review and preparation of advisory report. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is a proposed local law that has received pretty extensive discussion in our Public Works Committee with some community input. As per our code, we've recommended sending it to the Planning Board for their review. Once we hear back from them, we will plan to set a public hearing for formal consideration of this amendment to our code to address various issues relating to the keeping of animals in the town. So we have a motion and a second to refer it to the Planning Board. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
I haven't finished reading it, though.
This is merely to refer it to planning for comment. You're not taking action on this tonight. We're not even setting a public hearing on this yet, so we'll refer it to planning. Planning will comment. Actually, county planning will comment as well. We'll get those comments back. Then we'll bring it back to the board to ask you to set a public hearing, and then we'll have the public hearing sometime later before it's voted on for adoption.
Okay, aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Are we not ready yet to act on the wage rates?
Suzanne was just making photocopies so that all the board members could each have it in front of them when they vote.
Then
I think we got a couple.
Why don't we go to the next item then?
We got
Jim.
two more.
All right. The next item is to receive and file the seeker finding statement dated October 8th regarding the University of Rochester's institutional plan development, that IPD of the South Campus, the incentive zoning and rezoning matter. I move in the resolution. It's prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We did have some discussion earlier again. We are not taking substantive action tonight. We have received this document. We will formally take action to receive it as part of our official record, with the expectation that we will act at our next meeting on that. This reflects the work first of our consultant Stantec and some pretty thorough review by staff. I've had some lengthy meetings with Ramsey over a number of the revisions, all of which are in this proposed document. I believe, Jose, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this latest version was emailed out to you maybe either late yesterday or early today. Good, okay. It is a rather lengthy document. This is a significant project, but the goal in a finding statement is to identify the environmental issues, indicate mitigation measures to address them, and reach some conclusion relating to the adequacy of those mitigation measures. And that's what this document does regarding a variety of potential environmental impacts of the project. So tonight we'll formally receive it, but not take any more action until the next meeting. And we do have Jose Fernandez here in the auditorium in case anybody does have any questions. But this document, I think it's important to note, really is a town-generated and town consultant-generated document. You've all received a couple of different draft iterations of it and have had opportunity to submit comments. So we have a motion to receive and file. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Now we have the...
I'd ask that you call back the resolution number 10.
Great. And that was a motion made by Chris and seconded by Jim. Do you both accept
Right,
this
I do.
corrected
We do,
schedule
we
as
do.
a friendly amendment? Good?
Yep.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Again, as noted, this reflects the increase in the minimum wage, which will, we have maintained a spread for these different positions. Some are minimum wage positions, and then other more senior positions that have been based on a spread above the minimum wage, and we have maintained those spreads by increasing these salaries for these seasonal positions to reflect the minimum wage increase.
I have a question for Ken. A couple of years ago, I was told that, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but about paying interns, student interns. We either couldn't or we had to. I'm not sure what it was, but now I see that we are paying student interns, and I wonder what the law is on that.
Don't know.
There really are, it is an interesting area. It is, both paid and unpaid intern positions are permissible. We do have a rate in here for paid intern positions, but depending on the circumstances, some of our interns may be paid and some may be unpaid.
We've looked at that. I know within our own firm had been quite frustrated. The whole idea of having an intern is to give the student an opportunity to have some experience in a field they might be interested in. But unfortunately, the Labor Department, and I believe it's the U.S. Labor Department, has indicated that it is illegal to provide work to an unpaid intern that a paid employee would otherwise be doing. Therefore, all interns who provide any real substantive work have to be paid. Therefore, we have a paid schedule for that. If they're more of the nature of just observing and ride-along type interns, then they don't need to be compensated. But it's a problem, and it's restricted, unfortunately, our ability to have young people get experience in various fields, get a taste of it.
Okay. So we, again, we have this motion, and it's been seconded. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Last item, Jim.
Yes, the next item is to set a public hearing for November 12th for a proposed removal of one 52-inch silver maple tree located at 868 Clover Street. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Tim, you want to make a comment on this one? We reviewed this in Public Works. This is a significant tree, but it's also significantly in trouble.
It is the photos that were provided at the Public Works Committee this week. There was a significant failure of a portion of one of the main leads on the tree, and it was very evident from those photos how hollow some of these trees are up in the Greenaway tract. If you actually go through the information that's provided to support this, going back a number of years, we had the tree evaluated probably 5 or 6 years ago, I think, and you know, and we sort of, you know, this is really like the tip of the iceberg. We knew that the trees were, you know, were problematic because of their age. Some of these are coming to fruition now that, you know, we're experiencing some of these events. So this tree does need to be removed. It's in an unbalanced state at this point, and initial discussions with the property owner that's at that location have indicated that they have no objections and actually are in favor of removing the tree. And what we would get into in the public hearing, I'll just state now, is that yes, we will replant a replacement tree next springtime in our annual tree program. So,
as we all know, we've spent a lot of time over the years because of the sort of monoculture, or what has been a monoculture of silver maples, beautiful, beautiful silver maples in the Greenaway and Cheswell and Walden Place neighborhood. It's a neighborhood I'm very familiar with. I walk through it all the time, and in fact, this most recent round of looking at this tree was prompted by a neighbor stopping to talk to me while I was out just walking for some exercise in the neighborhood. And they are beautiful big trees, but they've, as you said, lost a significant lead there. And yes, the adjoining property owner is very much in favor of
And I'm pleased we were able to move this ahead and get it on tonight's agenda to set this public hearing. And this is one of the highest hazard ratings I'd seen
Yeah.
in reviewing this at Public Works.
And boy, I know, with that wind blowing today, all I could think of was, boy,
boy.
I hope we get to this one in time.
Yeah, that was the thing we wanted to make sure as we got it on the agenda tonight, so we could set this
Right.
public hearing.
And we are balancing the needs, as you and the board is aware of this sensitivity of this neighborhood and how this has evolved. We don't want to be too preemptive, I guess, in taking a tree down without doing our diligence. But again, it really does beg the question that, we are the stewards of our urban forest, and unfortunately, part of what we do has to be to manage that forest as well. And I think kudos go to Tim Anderson and the Highway Department, particularly before Jerry Peterson retired. Jerry was very instrumental, and now Kathy Markert, who handles these things, of going up there, and most recently within the last few years, doing a lot of replantings and filling in some of the void areas that we talked about. Transitioning, as we know these trees will come down, is to get a head start and get a diversity of trees in there that are going to complement the neighborhood and come back and really fill in. And I think Tim and Kathy have really taken that to heart by what we've done over the last few years, and I think the neighbors have been very receptive and appreciative of that as well.
Good.
Thanks, Tim. Motion and a second. Anything further? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor. The first matter is our quarterly expense and revenue report for the period ended September 30th, 2014. You did receive an email of this, but I will ask our Finance Director, Suzanne Zaso, to summarize for me, or all of us.
Okay. Well, we're 3/4 of the way through the year. And as I've stated before in my other reports, the 2014 operating budget, which consists of our general highway, library, and debt service funds, provides for $23,465,340 in net appropriations, which is funded by the fully collected tax levy of $13,772,425, $1,375,000 in appropriated fund balance and reserves, and $8,317,915 in all other remaining revenue sources. A major portion of those $8 million in other revenues comes from our sales tax and mortgage tax. In 2014, we estimated just under $3 million in sales tax and just over $1 million in mortgage tax. So far, we've received 2 of our 4 quarterly payments for sales tax, and we've received a total of 46% of our budget estimate. Typically, our second 2 quarters are a little higher, so we're anticipating we'll meet our target for our sales tax for 2014. Mortgage tax, we received payments in June and December, so we've only had the 1 payment. We've received 28% of our $314,000 that we budgeted. I'm sorry, we received $314,000 of the $1.1 million that we budgeted. Usually the second payment is the higher payment since it encompasses the summer, spring buying season. We've gotten some preliminary numbers. They are definitely up each month, but it's looking as though we're not going to meet our budget estimate. We've talked about this in other meetings too, that we will not meet our budget estimate for this revenue source in 2014. So we're taking a close look at other areas of the budget to compensate for that. The remaining $4.2 million in revenue is mainly composed of governmental fees, state aid, pilots, interest income, and we've received 84% of that total amount through the first 3 quarters. So we're trending well there. With expenditures of almost $23.5 million, 76% of that relates to wages and benefits. Through September 30th, we posted 73% of our payroll and had only expensed 72% of our full-time and part-time wages and 68% of our overtime wages, so we're trending well there. Our employee benefits are just under $6.5 million, and those cover medical, dental for active and retired employees. Through September, we'd paid 10 of our 12 monthly payments, and we'd had spent out 74%, so we're trending a little. favorably in that category. Another $2.3 million of employee benefits is for the New York State retirement system. We've only been billed for 1/4 of the year so far, and it amounted to 24% of our budget estimate. So when we do have a preliminary bill for the remainder of the year, and we should be a little under budget in that category. Of the remaining $6 million in appropriations, we've spent or encumbered 80% of that, and it's broken out by our supplies, material, and contractual expenses of just over $3.8 million. We've expensed or encumbered 89% of that. That's not uncommon because most of those items have already been either purchased for the year or they have been ordered. We've spent 93% of our budget for liability and property insurance, but we've just paid our last bill. Anything remaining would be just something small that we might have added, a couple $100 here or there. We've spent or encumbered 52% of our $671,000 budget for equipment and capital outlays, and we've expensed 62% of our $401,000 for utilities. The issue with utilities, though, is we only have most of our invoices through July so far. So depending how the rest of the year goes with gas and electric, we may be a little over budget there, so we're continuing to monitor that each month. The balance in appropriations is made up of $710,315 in debt service, which will fully expend, and $70,400 from some interfund transfers that will fully expend. So aside from a couple deviations in a couple categories or specific items, overall, for the 2014 budget, I think we're trending favorably.
Good.
Thank you, Suzanne. And yes, the biggest deviation, as you indicated, as did Andrew earlier in his budget presentation, the very volatile mortgage tax payments. And we've taken action in this next year's proposed budget to although this past year's budget reflected the reality that we had seen in the 2 prior years, we know now, that for at least the intermediate term, with refis down as much as they are, we're going to have to budget less for next year, and we're not going to meet the budgeted revenue number for that item for this year, and we'll have to, act accordingly as we wind down through the last couple months of the year. But thank you for that thorough report. The full report is available to everybody, and you have it in your packets. Can I have a motion to receive and file the full expense and revenue report?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Noveros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. A couple more items. First is a meeting that will be held on October 14th, right here in the auditorium at 7 p.m. This will be an open house meeting concerning the planned Brighton Shared Use Trail project in the Farish property next to Temple Brith Kodesh. Proposed trail that we've been talking about that will connect Buckland Park and Westfall Road up here to Elmwood Avenue and the neighborhoods surrounding Town Hall. That meeting will be, again, Tuesday night, October 14th at 7 p.m. It will be done in the open house format. We will have our trail consultant here with plans and maps showing some possible courses. Staff has spent a lot of time working with the state DEC relating to the path of the trail through that land and other issues relating to the trail. So we've sent out letters to residents, within, I think, a 500-foot radius of anywhere of that parkland. We've also sent it out to neighborhood associations. So it's an opportunity to, give a more formal look at the project, get feedback on the project. For more information, take a look at it. You can go to the Trail Project website, Brighton Trail, that's all one word, .com. I was out there Friday afternoon with our town engineer, Mike Guyon, and Ramsey Boehner, our town planner, and members of the consulting team. It is a beautiful piece of land with some really nice stands of trees. There's a stand of shagbark hickories, for example, where you can see it's sort of a mother and children. There's one big shagbark hickory and probably 20 or so smaller hickories that clearly came from the original parent. There is a cluster of ash trees in there, and we're gonna, I believe, have to look very seriously because those ash trees are very close to the trail. I think as we look at our forestry expenditures next year, we should think very seriously if we can determine that they are in fact not yet infested with the emerald ash borer. I hope we'll look very seriously and consider treating them so that we can save them. But again, that's October 14th, right here at 7 p.m. And now on October 18th, in addition to the events that Louise has talked about, our electronics recycling and our document shredding, that evening at 6 o'clock is our town's bicentennial Tastings Through Time reception. And this will really be a culmination of our year's bicentennial celebration. It will be at the Country Club of Rochester, which is itself a historic facility, starting at 6 o'clock. Tickets are available online, or you can come in here to Town Hall and purchase them. What's really exciting about this is the menu. We will have, it's not going to be a sit-down dinner. You're not going to be stuck sitting at one table with the same people. But it will be a very full menu of appetizers, and those appetizers will range from the 19th century, many recipes that we received from the Landmark Society, from a cookbook that they shared with us and gave us permission to use these recipes, right up to current day recipes, including recipes that are associated with famous Brighton restaurants. So there's still time to get tickets. We're not sold out yet, but don't wait. And I look forward to seeing all of you on October 18th as we celebrate 200 years of Brighton's history. That's all I have. Matters of the town attorney.
I have none tonight.
Thank you. Matters of the clerk.
I have nothing tonight.
Matters of the town board.
Bill, I wanted to reiterate something I said a few meetings ago, and apropos of the fire prevention week, et cetera. Smoke alarms cannot be neglected. They are very important. It saved my house, frankly. We had a fire outside our home due to some improper disposition of painting rags. And very fortunately, only because we had a window open and the smoke came into my kitchen where we had an operating smoke detector, did I realize that I had a huge fire on the side of my home. And without that smoke alarm, I would have had substantial damage to my home. So please, keep yours fully charged, replace those batteries. They do their job.
That's a great reminder. Thanks, Chris.
I'd like a question. Is the haunted house is going to be on Friday the 24th?
The haunted house is going to be on Friday the 24th. Thank you for reminding me of that, because we do have a couple of great events. We'll have one more meeting before that. But the haunted house, which is out at the Buckland House, that Friday night, one of my favorite events of the year, both events that our recreation department puts on, and Christine is here and smiling from ear to ear because I know you love these two events as well. Saturday morning is our family fall fun festival. There's, I'm sure, some more F's we can put in there, but this is an opportunity for children and families to come here into Town Hall to do some safe trick-or-treating. We have our houses, as we've always called them, Trick-or-Treat on Safety Street. And Farmer Bill will be there leading the Halloween parade. And the library will be on hand. We have animals, we have cartoon character mascots. It's really a fun morning for the kids. That starts at 10:30? 10 o'clock. That's Saturday morning, the 25th. 10 till we run out of candy.
Oh.
10 to and the
Saturday?
haunted house is 6 to 9?
Friday night, yeah.
Friday night. Okay.
And we get some help from Brighton Baseball on the haunted house. They'll be out there pouring apple cider and comforting the scared grown-ups as they run screaming out of the Buckland house. It's a pretty scary, it gets scarier every year, so come on down. Thank you, Christine, for reminding, and thank you, Louise, for reminding us of that. Anything further? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Thank you. Have a good evening. We'll see you at our next town board meeting, October 22nd, 2014, at 7 o'clock. Have a nice night.